Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So the summertime in France means strawberry season. And because of that, you see a lot of really beautiful desserts made with these incredible strawberries. So I thought today you would enjoy meeting Frédéric Vendee, who is one of our local pastry chefs here, who's going to teach us how to make one of the most famous recipes in France for strawberries, and that's a fraisier. Come on, let's go. Frédéric's pastry shop is located on the Quai du Port Fidèle, which is one of the bustling streets here in Saint-Gilles. It's filled with restaurants and little bars. It's a wonderful place to have lunch or dinner. And just past the ice cream shop, you will find his pastry shop, a charming little spot called Fred's. Frédéric's first love is chocolate, and when I arrived at the shop, he was showing me some of his latest creations. And in fact, this is how I found out about Fred, because my husband had bought one of his Easter roosters that was filled with the most incredible homemade chocolates and brought it back to the States for me. You can see more of his creativity on display with these pencils and pencil sharpener that are made completely out of chocolate. He made it for the back to school season, and I'm sure the kids feel a lot better now about going back to school once they see that. And then in the main case, you can see his selection of amazing pastries, all of which are made right there on the premises. Each one looks like a little jewel box. You almost don't want to eat them because they're so beautiful. But today we're going to learn how to make this one, the beautiful fraisier. Fred explained that a fraisier is made up of 4 different components.
Biscuit génoise,
D'accord.
crème mousseline à la vanille, fraise du producteur de Sébastien, crème chantilly
Incroyable.
et fraises.
Et c'est facile à faire?
Très facile.
Okay, you heard the man. He said it's easy. So we're going to see just what goes into making this magnificent cake. Fred took me back to his kitchen, and the first order of business was to take out the strawberries. I was blown away by the quality of the strawberries that he is using in his desserts. And in fact, my first visit with Fred began the day before when he invited me out to the grower to pick up the strawberries for the week. I was blown away by the quality of the berries. Sebastian is the grower, and he has the most incredible collection of raspberries, blueberries, and strawberries that he grows for local pastry chefs and restaurants. And it's no accident that they all look so perfect like this, because he was explaining when you're dealing with pastry chefs or restaurants, they can't just pick them all out when they're making a tart. Each one has to be perfect. It was really something to see. Even the blackberries looked amazing. Look at those beauties. So Frédéric was there to pick up his shipment. He has an arrangement with a local restaurant where they take turns picking up their shipments of strawberries. So half was for him and half was for the restaurant. But basically, these would only last him about 4 to 5 days for all of his desserts. And then he'd be back again for his next few flats. Okay, I have just been given one of these gorgeous strawberries. They don't even look real. They are so beautiful. And I am going to give it a taste. Oh my gosh! I hate to say this, but it doesn't even taste real. It tastes like a Jolly Rancher. It's so sweet. It's the most incredible flavor. J'ai jamais goûté quelque chose comme ça aux États-Unis. Really incredible. I wish you guys could taste this. I couldn't get over how beautiful and perfect all of these strawberry baskets looked. I mean, there wasn't a bad one in the bunch, and that is by design. To assure the quality, all of the strawberries are grown in these amazing greenhouses in raised pots. Sebastian was explaining this just makes it easier for the pickers to come along and pick the best of the bunch. In fact, any of the less than perfect strawberries, they're used for jams and sorbets. And Frédéric makes a fantastic strawberry sorbet. Like a fresh strawberry. Amazing. I am always so impressed with the passion and dedication put towards the food in France. It really just makes all the difference in the final product. And that's something I think we can just take back to our own kitchens too. Start with the best ingredients that are in season and you're halfway to success.
Okay, 4 eggs. Got it.
Okay, now it's time to start on the cake, the genoise. Look at the way he cracks the eggs. I found this to be so interesting. He just cracked them against each other. So 4 eggs going in. Now, if you'd like to know how to make this cake, Frédéric was kind enough to supply me with the recipe. So the recipe has been translated and put into both metric and imperial measurements, and you'll find that in the description. He whisks together the eggs and the sugar and then puts the mixture over a double boiler. He does this so that the heat can dissolve the sugar and get the best volume on the eggs. These are the tricks that you learn from the great pastry chefs. There's never any phoning it in. They always do it the right way, and it's so impressive. And then he sifts the flour. He uses the double boiler just until the eggs become a nice pale yellow and then pops it in the electric mixer for even more volume. Then once the mixture is ready, he adds the flour, gently folding it in, incorporating it slowly so that he doesn't destroy all that beautiful volume. Then he transfers it to a baking sheet lined with parchment paper, smooths it out, and then pops it in the oven. Then it's time for the second component of this dessert, the creme mousseline. So he begins with some milk. To that he adds a bit of sugar, a vanilla bean pod. Just look at this collection. They almost look like cigars. Beautiful. And then to help the mixture thicken up, he adds a little bit of cornstarch, or what is known here in France as fleur de maïs. And then he adds all of those ingredients together. And then the next ingredient, at first I thought he was adding a thing of orange juice. I was like, what is that? It was egg yolks that came in a carton. I was so impressed. So he weighs everything. So you'll notice that's how the ingredients are listed out. Then it was time to add the vanilla bean. I really liked how he did this. He sort of flattened it and then scraped it. And I have since tried this at home, and the flattening really helps with the scraping. That's a good tip. Then he adds the warmed milk into the egg mixture and then gives it a good whisk and then puts it back on the pot in order to thicken.
On cuit 2 minutes.
D'accord.
So at this stage, it's a basic pastry cream, a crème pâtissière. But what is going to make it a crème mousseline is the butter. So a good quantity of room temperature butter is added to the crème pâtissière. It's important that the two are the same temperature because this is what is going to create a light and fluffy crème mousseline. Then it was time for the assembly. This was the part I was most interested in because I wasn't really sure how this was all going to fit together. So he took a cake ring and then a plastic cake collar, and this was going to keep the cake together until it was refrigerated, and then when you serve it, you take the cake collar off. Then it was time to take that cooled Genoise cake, which the fragrance of it was so amazing. It smelled so good. Now watch this. This was impressive. He took another piece of parchment paper on top, flipped it over onto a rack, then slid the rack off, and there he had his beautiful cake. Then he took another cake ring, the same size as the ring we were using for the assembly, to actually cut out the layers of cake. And he must have seen me sitting there salivating because a little piece came my way. Hot off the press, I get to taste it. Oh my. Oh, c'est délicieux.
Ça ressemble un peu au biscuit à la cuillère qu'on met autour de la charlotte.
Oui, exactement. Delicious. Then it was time to prep the star of the show. So the strawberries get a slice on the bottom so they lay upright. Then he cuts them in half. And this is the part that will form all of those strawberries that you see around the edge that make it so pretty.
C'est important d'avoir des belles fraises
Oui, c'est vrai.
identiques presque.
And almost identical too. So this is where Sebastian's hard work of all of the picking pays off. Then he places them in the tin, cut side facing out, all the way around the perimeter of the cake tin. Then he adds one disc of the Genoise cake to form the first layer, and then it was time for the creme mousseline. Okay, now comes the pastry cream. I'm getting a taste. See? Oh, wow. It's so silky and smooth and delicious. Amazing. He transfers this heavenly mixture to a pastry bag and then proceeds to pipe in between the strawberries, filling the gaps and then adding a whole layer of creme mousseline on the bottom. Then another layer of strawberries are added, another layer of creme mousseline, and another layer of cake. Now, you can see why so many strawberries are put into this cake. It's really living up to its namesake, a Fraisier. There's no skimping. And then a final layer of creme mousseline, and then he smooths it all out, covers it with plastic wrap, and pops it in the fridge to set up. Then a little bit of chantilly, some homemade whipped cream, and this is where the real fun begins. The decoration. So out comes the chilled cake and in comes the artistry. One of the things that I just am continually amazed every time I travel to France is the level of artistry. And you see it everywhere. You see it in the food, you see it in the pastries, you see it in the architecture, the wine, the music. Everything has a certain amount of flair that if you look for it, you're just completely amazed by it. I just am such a visual person. I have such respect for it. It's very mesmerizing and inspiring. And I also find there's such a wonderful humanness about it. The fact that people take the time to make something beautiful that others can enjoy and to do it so well at such a high level. Wow. I just would never want to see that disappear from France.
Finishing touch.
He then added some of this praliné de rose, which is like a sugared pink almond sprinkle on top. It was so beautiful.
C'est magnifique, Frédéric. Bravo.
All right, well, I can't let this beautiful masterpiece go to waste. I'm gonna buy it for my dinner party tonight. He boxed it up and I was so afraid I was going to destroy it on my walk home. But let me tell you, it didn't matter because it tasted delicious.
Delicious.
Très très bon.
So good.
Well, I hope you guys give this one a try. We want to see how you did. So @mention Fred and I on Instagram and show us your results. Good luck. Up next, I'm going to take you to this fabulous little spot, Logis de la Chaboterie. It's one of my favorite little rainy day visits, and we're going to go inside, and I'm going to tell you a little bit of history about how it factored into the French Revolution. I'll see you then. Bye.